So many of us live with the weight of our past hanging over our heads. We replay the failures, the poor choices, the words we wish we could take back. We look in the mirror and instead of seeing who we are, we see what we've done. But let me tell you something today. Your identity is not defined by your mistakes. Your mistakes are chapters in your story, but they are not the title of your book. Every single person has fallen short. Every single person has stumbled. If your identity was based on perfection, none of us would stand a chance. But your identity is rooted in something far deeper than your performance. It is anchored in the truth of who you were created to be, not in the errors you've made along the way. Think about it like this. When a child breaks a vase in the house, do the parents stop calling them their son or daughter? Of course not. The relationship doesn't dissolve because of a mistake. The love doesn't evaporate because of a broken piece of glass. In the same way, you are not disqualified from your calling, your worth, or your purpose because of your failures. Your mistakes may explain your past, but they don't have the authority to dictate your future. They may shape your experiences, but they cannot erase your value. You may have failed, but you are not a failure. You may have fallen, but you are not defined by the fall. You are defined by the one who lifts you up again. The truth is, your mistakes are often the very places where you grow the most. They are the classrooms where humility is taught, where compassion is born, where resilience is developed. Without mistakes, you wouldn't know the joy of redemption, the power of forgiveness, or the beauty of grace. What once looked like a mess can actually become the message that transforms your life and impacts the lives of others. Some of you are holding on to guilt that you were never meant to carry. You're identifying yourself with labels like unworthy, a broken, or a disqualified. But those are lies. The truth is, you are loved, you are chosen, you are valuable. You are more than the worst thing you've ever done. Don't let your past mistakes keep you from stepping into your future purpose. The world doesn't need a perfect you. It needs a real you, a redeemed you, a you who knows what it means to fall and then rise again stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Your identity is not found in the scorecard of your failures or successes. It is found in the unchanging truth that you were created with intention, designed with purpose, and loved beyond measure. That is greater than any mistake you've made, and it will always be greater. So walk in that truth, live in that freedom. And remember, your identity is greater than your mistakes. When we talk about mistakes, failures, and the moments we wish we could erase from our lives, it's easy to blur the line between what we did and who we are. The truth that so many people overlook is this: your mistakes are events, not your identity. A mistake is a choice you made, an action you took, or a season you endured, but it is not the totality of your existence. Yet so many of us allow those moments to become labels. We say to ourselves, I am a failure, I am unworthy, I am beyond repair, as if one chapter in the story could erase the entire book. But your story is far greater than a single page, and your value is far deeper than one wrong turn. Think about the times in life when you've fallen short. Maybe it was a relationship that crumbled because of words you regret. Maybe it was a career path where you stumbled and lost an opportunity. Maybe it was a moral failure, a hidden struggle, or a public embarrassment that others still whisper about. In each of those cases, the temptation is to take the incident and wear it like a name tag. Instead of saying, I failed in that moment, we begin saying, I am a failure. That's the lie that keeps so many people trapped. Because when you confuse your mistakes with your identity, you end up living under shame instead of walking in the truth of who you were created to be. The difference between guilt and shame is important here. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am something wrong. Guilt can lead you to correction, growth, and change. Shame, however, paralyzes you and keeps you stuck in the prison of your past. If you want to move forward, you have to separate the event from the person. You have to learn to say, that is what I did, but it is not who I am. Mistakes are temporary moments. Identity is a permanent reality. Mistakes fade with time and healing. Identity remains because it is woven into your very design. Consider the image of a potter and clay. If a potter is shaping a vase and it collapses or cracks, does he throw away the clay and say, "This clay is worthless"? No, he reshapes it, molds it, and patiently works with it until it becomes what he intended. The mistake in the process doesn't erase the potential in the clay. In the same way, you may have cracks, flaws, or collapsed moments, but you are still clay in the hands of a creator who sees your value, not just your failures. Your identity is in who made you, not in what went wrong. Many people live under false labels placed on them by others. Maybe someone has called you unreliable, untrustworthy, or hopeless because of something you did in the past. Maybe your community, your workplace, or even your family has tied your name to a failure. But other people's opinions of you are not your identity either. Identity is not built on the shifting sands of human judgment. If people could define you, they could also limit you. But the truth is, no one has that power over your destiny. Their memory of your mistake may be long, but your worth goes beyond their limited perspective. When you believe that your mistakes are your identity, you live a smaller life than you were meant to live. You play it safe because you don't trust yourself. You hide because you're afraid of being exposed again. You settle for less because you think you're not deserving of more. But when you begin to see mistakes as events, you can extract wisdom from them without letting them cage you. You can say, "Yes, I learned a hard lesson, but I am not less valuable because of it." Every mistake carries a lesson, but no mistake has the authority to stamp you with a permanent label. Even history is full of people who made mistakes but were not defined by them. Great leaders, inventors, and visionaries had seasons of failure. They tried and fell short. Some were even ridiculed, mocked, or dismissed because of what went wrong. But if they had allowed those events to define them, we would never know their names today. The only reason their stories inspire us is because they chose to see their mistakes as temporary setbacks rather than permanent labels. Your mistakes might affect your circumstances, but they do not erase your identity. Your mistakes might delay your journey, but they cannot cancel your destination. Your mistakes might bring consequences, but they cannot take away the fact that you are valuable, loved, and purposeful. This is why you cannot afford to confuse the two. If you see your mistakes as your identity, you'll live beneath your potential. But if you see them as events, you can rise above them and move forward stronger than before. Your past choices do not erase your worth. Your failures do not redefine your name. Your wrong turns do not cancel your future. They are pages in the book, but they are not the title. They are brushstrokes in the painting, but they are not the full masterpiece. They are moments in the journey, but they are not the destination. If you can hold on to that truth, you'll discover that freedom comes not from erasing your mistakes, but from knowing that your identity has always been greater than them. Failure is one of the hardest realities to accept because it cuts into our pride. You stop hiding your imperfections because you understand that mistakes are part of the refining process. You stop beating yourself up for the past because you realize that every setback was building strength, character, and clarity for your future. Failure loses its sting when you stop calling it your identity and start calling it your education. Another important truth is that failure has the power to humble us in ways success never could. Success can make us proud, self-sufficient, and blind to our weaknesses. Failure, however, strips away illusions and forces us to see where we need to grow. It teaches us empathy for others who are struggling. It deepens our compassion because we know what it feels like to be broken. It equips us to encourage others because we've walked through disappointment ourselves. In this way, failure shapes us into better people, stronger, wiser, kinder, if we are willing to let it. So many people give up too early because they label themselves with failure instead of learning from it. They quit the dream because they stumbled once. They closed their heart because they were hurt once. They stopped trying because they were rejected once. But what if the failure wasn't the end? What if it was just the training ground preparing them for something greater? What if the rejection was redirection toward a better opportunity? What if the setback was strengthening their resolve so they could handle the success to come? The difference between those who succeed and those who quit often comes down to this. Some see failure as a label, while others see it as a teacher. Failure will always be part of the human experience. No one is exempt from it, no matter how talented, intelligent, or prepared they may be. But the way you respond to it determines whether it becomes a stumbling block or a stepping stone. If you treat it like a label, it will hold you down. If you treat it like a teacher, it will lift you up. And when you begin to see it through that lens, you'll find that what once looked like the end was only the beginning of a deeper, stronger, more purposeful journey. Love and worth are two things most people spend their entire lives chasing, often in all the wrong places. We chase them in relationships, hoping another person will validate us. We chase them in careers, hoping success will prove our importance. We chase them in money, status, achievements, or praise, hoping that somewhere in the applause we will finally feel valuable. But the problem with rooting love and worth in these external things is that they are fragile. People change their minds. Success can vanish. Money can run out. Applause always fades. If your value depends on these shifting things, you will live your entire life on shaky ground, never truly secure. The truth that changes everything is that love and worth are unconditional. They are not tied to how well you perform, how perfectly you live, or how few mistakes you make. They are not negotiable, and they do not decrease when you stumble. The greatest tragedy is that so many people believe the opposite. They think love is conditional, something that must be earned by perfection, obedience, or achievement. They believe worth is conditional, something that rises when they succeed and falls when they fail. They live on an emotional roller coaster, celebrating themselves when things go right and condemning themselves when things go wrong. But unconditional love and worth are not about circumstances. They are about who you are, not what you do. And who you are has never been defined by your mistakes. When a baby is born, what has that baby achieved? Nothing. They have not spoken a word, written a book, built a company, or won a medal. Yet in that moment, every parent and family member knows the child is valuable, loved, and precious. Why? Because worth is not earned. It is intrinsic. Ugi, it is intrinsic. Love is not given as a reward. It is present from the beginning. The same truth applies to you even after years of living, stumbling, and struggling. I'm struggling. Your mistakes do not erase your original value. Just as a crumpled or dirty $100 bill still holds its full worth, your life still carries its full weight, no matter how many times you've been dropped, dirtied, or crumpled by failure. When you tie your worth to performance, you set yourself up for disappointment. What happens when you don't perform well? What happens when the achievements slow down or the recognition disappears? Does your worth disappear with it? Of course not, but many people live as if it does. They wake up each morning trying to prove they are enough, desperate for someone's approval, terrified of losing the love they think they've earned. It is exhausting to live this way because it is built on a lie. Love and worth were never something you had to earn in the first place, and they are not taken away when you fall short. Mistakes are part of the human journey, but they do not reduce your value. Imagine an artist who paints a masterpiece, but accidentally spills ink on it. Does the painting lose all of its worth? No. In fact, sometimes those flaws make the piece even more unique, more authentic, more meaningful. You are the same way. The smudges, the imperfections, and the scars do not erase your beauty or value. They may even make your story richer and more relatable. You awakened him. People don't connect with perfect images. They connect with authenticity. And authenticity requires both victories and struggles. Unconditional love means that you are cared for and valued not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. You are worthy of love even on your worst day, even in your darkest season, even when you don't feel like you deserve it. And that truth changes how you live. Now, If you believe your worth decreases with your mistakes, you will hide, pretend, and perform. But if you believe your worth is constant, you will live with freedom, honesty, and courage. You won't be afraid of being exposed because you'll know that even if others see your flaws, those flaws don't erase your value. So much of the world is built on conditions, conditional contracts, conditional friendships, conditional acceptance. But love at its purest form is not conditional. It does not walk away when you fall short. It does not demand perfection before showing up. It does not weigh your past against your future. And when you truly embrace this kind of love, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop trying to measure up to impossible standards. You stop criticizing yourself for every mistake. You stop attaching your identity to how well you perform. Instead, you rest in the truth that you are already enough. There is incredible freedom in knowing that your worth is secure. It means that no matter how many times you fall, you don't lose your identity. It means that even when people reject you, you remain valuable. It means that even if you never achieve what the world calls success, your life still carries immense meaning. Love and worth are not negotiable assets that rise and fall with the stock market of your mistakes. They are constant, steady, and unchanging, and they are what allow you to stand back up when life knocks you down. You are not loved less because of your failures, and you are not worth less because of your flaws. That truth has always been, and it will always be. When you finally believe it deep within yourself, you will discover that you no longer have to strive to be enough. You already are. Redemption is one of the most powerful forces in life because it takes what is broken and gives it new meaning. When you look at the mistakes you have made, the regrets you carry, and the times you wish you could undo, it is easy to think those chapters disqualify you from having anything good come out of your story. But redemption works differently. Redemption takes what you once considered your mess and transforms it into a message that can inspire, guide, and encourage others. What once felt like a stain on your life becomes the very proof of growth, resilience, and transformation. Everyone has things they wish they could hide. Maybe it's a bad decision that altered the course of your life. Maybe it's a season where you were lost, confused, or walking down a destructive path. Maybe it's a failure so public that you still feel the sting of embarrassment when people mention it. The temptation is to bury these moments, to lock them away and hope nobody ever discovers them. But the irony is that the very things you want to hide are often the things that can help others the most. When you share the lessons learned from your mistakes, when you open up about how you were restored, you allow others to see that redemption is possible for them too. There is something deeply human about seeing someone rise from their mistakes. It gives hope. It reminds us that no one is too far gone, no failure is too final, no past too heavy. People connect more with your scars than with your trophies. They connect with your struggles because they see themselves in them. When you only show your victories, people admire you, but feel distant. When you reveal how you've been redeemed through your failures, people find encouragement because they realize they can rise as well. Your mess becomes the bridge that leads others toward hope. Redemption also shifts the way you view your past. Instead of looking back with shame, you begin to see purpose woven even into your lowest moments. That toxic relationship that nearly broke you can become the wisdom you use to guide someone else toward healthy love. That financial mistake that cost you dearly can become the experience that equips you to teach others about stewardship. That season of doubt or despair can become the testimony that shows others how to hold on to faith in hard times. What once looked like wasted years can actually be years of preparation. What once seemed like ruins can become the foundation for a stronger future. Think about how a mosaic is created. It is made of broken pieces of glass or stone, fragments that on their own seem useless, but when arranged with care, those broken pieces create a picture more beautiful than a single unbroken surface could ever be. Redemption works the same way. It gathers the broken pieces of your life and rearranges them into something meaningful. What you thought disqualified you becomes the very proof that beauty can emerge from brokenness. It is also important to realize that redemption is not just for you, it is for others. Your story of restoration might be the very story someone else needs to hear to keep going. Your courage to rise again might be the reason someone else believes they can rise too. You don't go through hardships only for yourself. You go through them so that your experience can become a light for others who are walking in darkness. Redemption multiplies its power when it is shared. Silence keeps the lesson hidden, but sharing transforms it into a message that can ripple through lives you may never even meet. Sometimes people resist the idea of redemption because they feel unworthy. They think their mistakes are too big, their failures too numerous, their past too heavy. Too heavy. But redemption is not about worthiness. It's about transformation. You don't have to deserve it to receive it. You don't have to fix everything on your own before it begins. Redemption enters precisely where you are broken, and it does its work from the inside out. It changes not only the outcome, but also your perspective. It allows you to look at the same event that once brought you shame and instead see the lesson, the strength, and the new purpose it birthed. When you embrace redemption, you stop being afraid of your past. You stop hiding from the chapters that once haunted you. You stop seeing your mistakes as the end of your story. Instead, you see them as the turning points that led you to growth, wisdom, and resilience. Redemption gives you the ability to say, yes, I made mistakes, but look at how far I've come. Yes, I stumbled, but look at what I've learned. Yes, I fell, but look at how I've been restored. That shift changes everything because your past no longer chains you. It empowers you. The truth is, the most powerful messages don't come from people who have never fallen. They come from people who have fallen and risen again. People who know what it's like to fail, to feel hopeless, to wonder if life can ever be good again, and who then discover that it can. Redemption transforms your pain into purpose, your weakness into wisdom, your scars into stories. And in that transformation, not only are you set free from shame, but countless others can be set free through your story as well. Purpose is one of the most powerful forces in a person's life because it gives direction, meaning, and hope. Without purpose, mistakes feel like dead ends. Failures feel like permanent labels. Regret feels like wasted time. But when you understand that you were created with a purpose greater than your past, suddenly everything changes. Your mistakes may have delayed you, but they cannot destroy what you were designed to do. Your failures may have humbled you, but they cannot erase the reason you were put on this earth. Purpose is stronger than your past because it comes from something deeper than your performance. It comes from your very design. Many people believe that once they've made a mistake, they have forfeited their chance at a meaningful life. They think purpose is reserved only for those who live perfectly, who never took a wrong turn, who never missed an opportunity. But that is not true. In fact, purpose often shines brightest in those who have walked through failure and discovered resilience. Your purpose isn't fragile. It doesn't shatter when you stumble. It doesn't vanish when you choose wrong. It doesn't evaporate because of one season of poor decisions. Purpose is woven into you so deeply that nothing in your past can rip it out. Think about a GPS system. When you take a wrong turn, the device doesn't say, well, you failed, and now you'll never reach your destination. It recalculates. It takes into account the wrong turn and still finds a way to guide you to where you need to go. Your purpose works the same way. Every mistake, every delay, every detour can be recalculated into the journey. The route may change, but the destination remains the same. You may not get there the way you imagined, but you will still get there because the purpose on your life is greater than the path you've taken. Your past may have shaped you, but it cannot define your purpose. In fact, sometimes your past becomes the very soil out of which your purpose grows. Broken relationship may give you the passion to help others build stronger ones. That financial setback may ignite in you the wisdom to guide others toward freedom. That season of emptiness may fuel your desire to bring hope to those who are struggling. What once seemed like wasted time can actually be preparation. What once felt like ruins can become the foundation of something beautiful. Nothing in your story is wasted when it is placed in the context of purpose. People often assume purpose is fragile, like a glass ornament that breaks with the first mistake. But in reality, purpose is resilient, like a tree whose roots run deep. Storms may strip its branches, winds may bend it, but the roots remain strong. Your mistakes are the storms, but your purpose is the roots. You may feel battered by the past, but the foundation of your identity and calling is unshaken. And if the roots are intact, the tree can always grow again. One of the most damaging lies people believe is that they are disqualified from purpose because of their mistakes. But the truth is, mistakes don't disqualify you. They prepare you. They teach you humility, resilience, and wisdom. They give you compassion for others who are struggling. They equip you with experience that becomes invaluable when guiding someone else. The very things you thought would destroy your purpose may actually strengthen it. In this way, your past is not wasted. It is redeemed and repurposed. Purpose is greater than the opinions of others too. People may look at your past and assume you're finished. They may define you by your failures and dismiss your potential, but their judgment does not alter your design. The world may say you're broken beyond repair, but purpose says you still have more to do. The world may say you're too late, but purpose says you're right on time. The world may say you're finished, but purpose says you're just beginning. That's why you cannot let the voices of others drown out the truth of your identity. Your calling is not decided by their approval. Your mistakes may still bring consequences. Some choices change circumstances, alter relationships, or create obstacles, but even consequences cannot erase purpose. They may alter the route, but they cannot cancel the destination. Even in those consequences, you can grow, learn, and become someone stronger, wiser, and more capable of carrying the purpose you were always meant to fulfill. What once felt like punishment can become preparation. What once looked like a closed door can become the push you needed to discover a new path. The most important thing to remember is that purpose is not about perfection. If it were, none of us would qualify. Purpose is about living out who you were created to be, even with the scars of your past. It's about using your story, both the victories and the mistakes, to bring light, help, and encouragement to others. It's about refusing to let failure have the final word and choosing instead to walk forward with hope. Purpose is the reason you're here, and nothing, not even your worst mistakes, can take that away. So don't live chained to your past. Don't shrink back in shame, believing that your mistakes have the power to erase your future. Lift your head, take a step forward, and remember that your calling is still intact. You are not defined by where you've been. You are defined by where you are going. And where you are going is greater than your past, because your identity and your purpose will always be greater than your mistakes. Fupu, always be greater than your mistakes.